Hey folks, welcome to Dojo Talks. Today we are going to be ranking chess variants. I'll be each going through our top 10 list. And we have our list of variants up right here. If you're listening to this on Spotify or via audio later on, you can check out the YouTube if you want to see the full list of variants and see all of our rankings in real time. Also, apologies for our template. We'll get that fixed in the post show. But today is Dojo Talks chess variants. We have, I think, the 10 most popular variants that we thought of. One honorable mention is bullet chess, which me and David both consider a chess variant, but Jesse does not. He vetoed it. So we won't be ranking bullet. But for the record, a lot of us do think that it is a variant in itself because it's very, very fast.
And a low ranking variant.
Yeah, not that fun compared to these others. Guys, I don't know where to start with. I think we should start with the top of the list.
Okay. Seems the easiest. I mean, it's not the most efficient random way to do it, but I think it's the most organized way.
Oh, wait, you guys are probably muted. There we go. Now people can hear you.
Oh.
All right.
Which is good. All David said is that he doesn't like bullet.
Right. And also Kostya said that I was the one who vetoed bullet off this list. And so I take responsibility for that. I am not a fan of bullet myself. I've really never played it. But to me, it's just not a variant because the rules aren't changed. You're just moving the clock speed up, So there you go. That's why I vetoed it.
Yeah, fair. We should also mention that this was brought up because Aronian posted a tweet just yesterday or the other day suggesting his own variant that looked pretty interesting, where if I could just quickly summarize, you essentially give your opponent 4 moves that you're willing to play, and then they choose one for you, which is also kind of interesting. But yeah, more of a fun show today. I don't think it's going to be super on the instructive side, though I do kind of rank these myself in terms of how instructive they are for regular chess. For me,
I'm going to disagree, Kostya. I'm going to disagree. I know David has very strong feelings about Chess 960 and some other stuff. I got strong feelings about something. No, I think this is you underestimate the power of this conversation, my friend. This is not fun. This is war. Me and David are going to go to war on this, man. Here we go.
I'll say this. Aronian's idea, it's basically to force you to play positions that you don't know as well, right? So it sort of tests a player's universality, right? It's not supposed to make you play a game that looks like A4, G5, Knight A3, Bishop H6, right? It's supposed to make you see if somebody who normally plays D4 can get along well in an advanced Caro or something like that, right? And I thought about it for a little bit. You guys didn't want to use it as the main topic today, but I thought about it for a bit, and I think I may have refuted it, and he might have to reduce the number of moves from 4 down to 2 or 3, honestly. Even 2 might be enough to accomplish the goal of pushing someone out of their comfort zone. But as a concept, it's a cool concept, and then you can just fine tune the number of moves. So,
yeah. Well then, let's get started. Let's just do Bughouse. This is super, super popular. In fact, for me, it might be one of my top variants right off the bat because I think it's a ton of fun. Yeah, either of you guys want to start? Do you have an idea where you're gonna place it? We can move them around later, but
have you been playing with someone other than me? Because when we played together, I did not consider that fun.
No, that was brutal. Oh my God, we got killed. That wasn't fun, but the other games that we played were fun.
Okay.
I'll jump in with Bughouse, and something I want to say about Bughouse is, I think Bughouse is the best social game. It's even better. It was way better than chess itself in terms of social. Yeah. It is a trash talking event. And I think to me, it's no good without the trash talking, which it loses a lot when you play online. We did a Discord thing where me and like Chess Latte were playing. It was fun to kind of talk, but I like to get under the opponent's skin. Years ago, I came up with an opening repertoire. I still need to do a video about this, a Bughouse opening repertoire called The Bone. And I hurt Bruce so badly once that he's still traumatized by The Bone.
I have great memories. One of my most fun Bughouse memories is beating Jesse 1,000,000 times in a row.
No, man, The Bone, let's just say The Bone was long and furious that night. And David is still traumatized by this event. And that's why he might not put Bughouse as his top variant, you know?
Actually, it really depends if you're playing online or OTB. OTB, I've just got nothing but fond memories of beating Jesse. I remember him complaining about his partner all night for like 8 hours. He was telling the guy, go back to the minor leagues. You don't belong here. I'm a Bughouse grandmaster and look how you're dragging me down.
I am definitely a Bughouse grandmaster.
He was mostly trash talking his partner, not me. So I had a great time. But for me, yeah, it's really going to depend if we were trying to rank this as online or OTB, because online, I've never enjoyed Bughouse yet. I've never had a session where I was just like, oh man, that was so fun playing online. And playing OTB, I think I've had fun basically every time. So that makes it really tough for me, like it could go anywhere from, second or third place down to 10th based on that. I'm going to give Bughouse the benefit of being OTB for my own ranking.
Uh-huh.
So you can asterisk Bughouse for me. I'll rank it OTB and I will give it.
While he's giving it something, I want to do just a small point of clarification. The Europeans are confused about what Bughouse is. And they've got this simple, ridiculous thing like you can't drop check, and they've got other weird rules.
House rules.
But yeah. I do want to say that I do believe the Europeans are slowly coming around and are now playing more and more with the correct rules. The Bughouse, the European Bughouse, that's not Bughouse. And so we're not talking about that. If you play that, then shame on you. Okay, just shame on you. We're talking about the real Bughouse today, and it's so much more violent and interesting when you play real Bughouse rules. It's a little bit like the difference, honestly, to what I imagine chess used to be before the queen got to be powerful, right? Originally in chess, the queen was just moving around like the king. Some sad little piece. The game
just started as an end game, in other words, huh?
Yeah, it just got lame, whereas now with like the real Bughouse, it's so much more dynamic and fun. Yeah. So there, I just want to put that out there.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna put it as my number one actually. Because I feel like it's just if I had to play one of these games right now, I would choose Bughouse. Like that's just my number one choice.
And also, we'll say I want to clarify as well. We had a little discussion there. Are we talking about the best? Are we talking about the most educational? Yada yada. There's a big confusion among a lot of chess coaches where they get distressed that their students play too much Bughouse, and they lose their mind with Bughouse. I've never seen that. Do they get addicted? Yes, but that's fine. The kids get addicted. I still enjoy playing Bughouse. And I do think there are certain things you can get out of it, in particular mating patterns. And just fantasy. There's fantasy involved in Bughouse that is a different kind of fantasy than you get in regular chess.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I don't think it's necessarily bad, but as a kid who would play a lot of like Blitz and Bughouse at tournaments growing up, and then sometimes just totally throwing the next round because I played way too fast. I can tell you that. As a kid, I had to realize like, you have to really learn to separate the classical and the Blitz. Very, very important.
Yeah. Okay.
We've got an important question in chat, which we should perhaps briefly address, which is by what criteria? Like, are we ranking things? Fun, educational, whatever. And our answer is by whatever criteria each of the three of us chooses. It's just our own favorites. So
yeah,
having fun would be one of the main reasons to play chess or any other game. So that's probably in the mix.
Right. Yeah, I definitely prefer fun, but right, I think also if it's kind of instructive or useful or kind of exercises similar chess muscles more than other variants, then yeah, I think I kind of prefer it more in general.
Kostya or David, tell me about King of the Hill. I'm not sure I even know what King of the Hill is.
Okay.
Yeah. King of the Hill is very fun. Basically, the first player to legally place their king in the center of the board, the 4 central squares, e4, d4, e5, d5, wins the game. You can also win by like a normal checkmate. But if you get your king to the center of the board, you win.
Okay.
Yeah, so I can start with this one. I think it's a lot of fun because, well, you still have to play regular chess. We could say that the importance of the center is definitely been greatly exacerbated. And it also leads to some fun combinations where like you sack your pieces, but you start, at some point you got to make a run for it with the king f2, king e3, you gotta try. So I think it's a lot of fun. Not sure exactly where I'm gonna rank it. Probably like I think I'm gonna place it 4th for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. As somebody else who knows what it is, I'll rank it next. Are you going to make a lot of room here for us?
Yeah, I'll fix it. All good.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's pretty fun. Definitely worth playing. When I look at variants, I either want a variant that's like a little bit better than chess or that's quite a bit different. So this is one that's a bit different. It's pretty fun. I'm going to put it at like 6th or 7th. It also depends for me how much replayability it has. Like a lot of these variants are fun, but then once you've played them 100 times, they become less fun. One of the cool things about chess is that you can play it thousands of times and it maintains that interest, right? And there are some variations that will drop off a bit once you've played them a lot. So I'll try putting it at 6th place for now. It might drop to 7th on reflection. It's definitely fun.
And I was just a real jerk. I put it at number 10 because it sounded like the dumbest thing I'd ever heard. There might be other things, though, which superseded in dumbness as we go down this list. So I reserve the right to move it.
You can do whatever.
Yeah. Makes sense.
All right. For example, what is loser's chess? I don't even know that one either.
Oh, I feel like you've had to have played it. It's also known as suicide, where you're basically just trying to give away all your pieces. And the key rule is that if you have a capture available, like in checkers, you must do it. So the goal is to give up all your pieces or get yourself... Actually, I think there's different variants. There's one variant where you can get yourself mated. There's another variant where the king is just a piece that can be given up. So there's no check or checkmate. Doesn't matter. I kind of like it where checkmate is a thing. I think it makes it for a more creative game. Because if you can force someone to take something with mate, like, come on, that's like so cool. But yeah, pretty fun. So Jesse, you've never played this one, huh?
Well, I've played it. I've been exposed to it. Let's say, I don't know if I've actually condescended to play the thing. And that's even worse sounding than the King of the Hill thing. So I just put that immediatay at 10, dude.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's down there with Bullet for me.
Wow. So. Wow, you guys don't like it. I think it's kind of fun. It's not my favorite thing. I've been turned off to it because kids actually really like it, especially at like camps and classes and stuff. They always, I mean, they love Bughouse, of course, but they always want to play loser's chess. And yeah, once they learn how to play it, they really often don't want to play anything else. So I would advise coaches not to teach your kids Bughouse, not to teach them how to play loser's chess until they're mature enough to handle the fact that, like regular chess is still the best. Because otherwise, if they're too young, then they're not going to want to play the regular stuff.
Yeah. It doesn't have the greatest replayability for me. It's a little bit too weird. And just kind of calculable. It lacks strategy, right? It only has kind of tactics.
Right. Yeah, I'll put it at number 8.
Okay.
It's not my favorite either, to be honest.
It's kind of an interesting question that I want to just expound on. And it might sound uninteresting, but would Jesse choose tic-tac-toe over loser's chess? And what I think let's call it side question. Maybe we could even do a whole show on this, is what other games out there involve a kind of thinking that's like chess? And to me, a more evolved tic-tac-toe is Connect Four. And Connect Four is surprisingly like a pawn endgame. It's surprisingly like a pawn endgame where, you're just playing it socially, you won't notice it. But if you really play it intently, you'll be like, oh no, zugzwang happening all the time. And if you play it with people who don't know about zugzwang, you're just going to murder them and they're going to get mad. And they're like, what is going on? How can you be winning every single game, man? It's a brutal game. So, I think for training chess as a fun thing to do, that would be my pick. That's similar to tic-tac-toe. But tic-tac-toe generally would just end in a draw all the time, which is a bummer. No fun.
Yeah, maybe we could rank non-chess games sometime too, like tic-tac-toe. I played my first game of Catan the other day.
All right.
All right.
There we go.
We can dump it at the bottom.
Okay. So what's Fog of War? I don't know that one either.
This one I haven't played much. I don't know if David, you could. I can barely explain, but you might have a more.
I've played
concrete.
it.
Okay.
I've played it enough to tell you. So in Fog of War, basically any square your pieces can't move to is sort of grayed out, and you can't see that square. And so when you move your pieces forward, you don't know what they're going to encounter. You don't know if there will be a piece waiting to capture them or not, that sort of thing. Okay. And then suddenly a diagonal opens or a file opens and the pieces see each other.
I see.
Wait, so how does it? Oh, any.
So I think like in the starting position,
don't control.
Yeah, I think in the starting position, you can basically see like the third rank because your pawns could capture on the third rank, something like that. And then let's say you open with B3. Now you can see the squares A4 and C4. And your opponent plays G6 and you play bishop B2. And suddenly you can see the whole diagonal from A1 to H8 and your opponent can't yet. Right. And then they play bishop G7. And for a second, they see your bishop before it comes and captures them.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
I played that one before. Then that one we should say of all these is the first one we're talking about. Well, the only one, I guess, where you need a computer, obviously, to play the thing. So it's a computer-driven variant, obviously. I've played that thing. That's amusing. That's amusing. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know where to put it quite yet. But
I played it and I was quite amused by it. I played some games. It had strategy as well as tactics, so I'm ranking it ahead of loser's chess. Because obviously there's randomness to it, which is going to hurt a little bit for someone who's used to a perfect information game and wants reasoning and strategy to fully work out and not weird little psychological feints and scouting and stuff like that. It's got a big element of like Stratego, which I'm sure Jesse's played.
Don't worry, Jesse, I got you. Here we go.
Oh, you got me. Yeah. I was thinking about that Stratego, but the thing with Stratego, right, is you got to kind of remember where the people are, right?
Yeah.
Which is those games I'm never good at, so I don't like.
Same in Fog of War, you have to remember like which pieces you've captured or haven't captured, so you can sort of guess what might or might not be there. Let's say your bishop looks at a diagonal, but then like moves away. You can sort of remember who you'd seen on that diagonal. If you get a clue whether they've castled kingside or queenside, it's kind of like having an idea where the opponent's flag is, that kind of thing. So there's an element that's pretty interesting to it. So I was able to play it several dozen times without getting bored of it. But I think most of what we have here is even more fun than that. So for me, it's probably between 8th and 9th place right now.
Okay, cool. I'm going to probably put it at 9th, mainly because I haven't really played much, but it does sound fun. I feel like I would enjoy it. Okay, Next up, Chess 960, the classic Fisher Random. Arguably the most mainstream of the variants that we see here.
Yeah, David, why don't you give us your spiel? Because I know you're a big believer in the Chess 960.
Well, I just think it's really fun. One of my favorite phases in the chess game is the opening phase. And if people know the opening by heart, then they sort of have to skip that phase. I also don't enjoy, even though it's my favorite part of the game to play, I don't enjoy studying it. So I think the time spent sort of like ramming opening variations through a computer and preparing. I saw Jesse one day sort of like clicking through Chessable training. It was the first time I've ever seen somebody do it.
Yeah.
I know we got kicked off chess.com for a couple of days for that, but I did get to see it at least. So now I sort of know what I'm talking about a little bit, and it looked lame. Jesse was like, this move. Oh shoot, not this move, and then it would tell him the move, and then it would make him go through it again like 3 or 4 times and be like, got it. Boom. Oh yeah. Like you've successfully become an automaton. I saw, no appeal in doing that. I would rather spend my time like studying endgame studies or something like that, or doing training like we do on Endgame Sensei, or playing out the same middle game 4 times in a row and talking about it. I mean, if we were ranking different ways you could study chess, it would basically be like at the bottom of my tiers for fun. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. So in Chess 960, you can obviate this thing that I don't think is fun. You get the opening phase back in chess, which I do think is fun to play. You get more decisive results if you make professionals do it. So I think it's absolutely fantastic. Chess 960 is just great, and is so good that at the professional level, I think it should more or less replace chess. And that would make Wake on Zay more fun. It would make the Olympiad more fun, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay, yeah. I think that this one's a real interesting one to talk about, because for one, the proponents of Chess 960, I think, believed when this was, it's been around for a while now, that it would kind of eventually take over the traditional game. And it's been interesting to see that it hasn't. And one of the things, I want to make two quick points here. Like sometimes, I watch a little bit of soccer, aka football, to relax and stuff. And as a fan, I'm sometimes like, oh, this game would be so much more interesting if they made the field bigger. Even if they made it like, I don't know, 10 feet on each side, or even 5 feet on each side, a little bit bigger. It would be more dynamic. It would be more physical. And why don't they? Well, there's a variety of, for example, rule changes that you could try to ask for. And I think one of the things is, once a tradition gets set in stone, it's very difficult to change it, even if the proposed changes are very valid. So that's an interesting cultural thing, right? Where, like, imagine if we switched it, it's kind of like, well, what about our huge tradition? What about our pantheon of great players? How do we compare them to these new players that are coming along? Because it would be essentially a different game. So it'd be like we would be giving up this cultural past. And interestingly, the people who've invested all the time in their opening study would also be giving up their precious little jewels. Yeah. Right? Which is another key reason why I think it's not taken off. The other quick thing I wanted to say is, when we lived in the GM house ages ago in Berkeley, me and David, he tried to turn me on to Go. And it was an interesting question for me, because it was like, I have no doubt that Go is a very interesting game and yada, yada. But I was like, dude, I already got this one game. It's enough. It's enough. It's more than enough for my small little mind. And I just don't want to bring in another lady into my life. It's too much. So, but I understand it was like a kind of an interesting moment for me. I was like, well, shouldn't I at least try it out? And then I was like, no, I'm purposely not going to try it out. I have a little bit of a feeling mildly similar with Chess 960. I've done a couple events online and stuff, and it was interesting. And I'm going to put it in the second spot. But it's interesting to me because it hasn't stuck with the general populace, and it hasn't stuck with myself either as something that could conceivably replace traditional chess. And we got to say, there's a number of very strong players out there who are into it. I believe I'm going to guess that Levon Aronian is the biggest proponent.
It's his favorite game.
Yeah, biggest proponent amongst the top players.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that if you interviewed a lot of the top players, you'd find out that a lot of them support it, and that it's really, there's something weird about it not happening. Remember the Mainz tournament, and they would get a great turnout, tons of fantastic players would show up and play in that. And I think it's kind of just something to do with inertia and entrenched, FIDE bureaucracy, and no one coming along with the money and the organization to run alternatives.
Kostya, have you heard my racist joke about Go?
Uh-oh. I have not.
He doesn't want you to say it either. He's scared. Clearly scared.
All the pieces look the same, man. Okay, we better move on before I get in trouble. What is Crazy House? I don't even know what Crazy House is.
Well, wait, let me rank. I'm going to put 960. I think I'm going to move King of the Hill. I've been thinking about my rankings to third. I'm going to put Chess 960 fourth.
What? Wow, okay.
Well, because for me, for one, Jesse, I thought it was interesting. You didn't really rank any of the other variants based on how likely they are to replace chess. Like, this is the only one where we're kind of, for me, it's just like not that fun. To me, it's very similar to just regular chess. It's fun in the same way that chess is fun, which is like, okay, I enjoy the game, but I'm not like gleefully playing, right?
No,
these other variants, I'm having fun. I'm having real fun.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, Crazy House, for those that don't know, is basically Bug House, except it's played with one board. So any pieces that you capture, you're then allowed to place that kind of piece as an individual turn, similar in Bug House. So not as fun because it's just a single player game, but it involves a lot of the same dynamics, and I think a lot of Bug House players end up being very good at Crazy House.
Okay. I have to admit, I've never even played that one, man. But I get it. I can intuitively understand what's going on with that thing.
So to play it OTB, Jesse, you need two sets of pieces, and you have the second set of pieces next to you. So if you capture the opponent's pawn, a black pawn, to the set next to you, you put that pawn down, you pick up a white pawn, and you put it next to your board, so you're ready to drop it.
Got it.
Does that make sense? And so every time you capture something, you swap it out with the set next to you, and then it's sitting there so that if your opponent captures your piece, they'll be able to swap it out and get that piece back.
So definitely something that's better online.
It works well online.
Yeah.
It works fine OTB. It's not a problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I would argue that overall it's a better game. Like if your only choices were online Crazy House by far beats online Bug House. Right? I mean, you get the piece instantly. You're in control of yourself. There's no stalling. You can manage your time in a way that's more reminiscent of normal chess, where you can think on an important move and then blitz out some simpler, clearer moves. It is very much like shogi, as Rengao is saying. Japanese chess operates with that principle. The pieces are much weaker in shogi, but when you capture them, they become yours to drop. And shogi is pretty cool too. The only advantage Bug House has is that kind of like fun social aspect in person where everybody's joking around together. It's kind of a tough call. I'm reflecting on whether to put Crazy House third, Bug House fourth, or Bug House third, Crazy House fourth. But you guys can take over.
Well, for me, I think it's gonna take my number 6 spot because I think it's fun. It's a cool game, but it's not for me. Yeah, it's not as fun as Bug House. And I'm mainly thinking about Bughouse OTB. Yeah, Bughouse Online, not as much fun. But yeah, it's a good game for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, next one, guys.
Next one. Maybe I'll introduce this one because I was the one who demanded it be in the list. So let me describe Super King. There's a couple mild variants, but in principle, it's very simple. What you've got is you've got a king versus the entire army, but the king is allowed to move twice. Now, sometimes as a variant, the king will get a couple pawns, either, let's say, oftentimes 2 rook pawns, an A pawn and an H pawn. And it's a brilliant game for both fun and, let's say, educational purposes. I think it's a great thing for at a camp, for example. Mm-hmm. So, for example, a couple things. First, educational, and then the fun part. If you do the mate and twos, right? It's a beautiful thing to practice for your visualization. And if you just imagine a king on the board and a mate and two, basically you're covering 2 squares away from the king. And so it's like a pattern where you have to see all of the possible movements 2 squares away for the mate and two. And Super King is obviously also 2 squares away. And so it forces a visualization of a broader mate pattern, if you will, right? Where the pieces can come together in kind of fun and surprising ways. Now, then where it's really fun is people, of course, think that they're going to easily beat the king, when in fact the king is incredibly tricky. And just so you get a sense of the rules, imagine if there's like a no pawn on F2, a pawn on H3, and we get our king to G3. That is mate. We win. That is mate because the king is in check and mate. It's 2 squares away. So that's an example of how the game ends. And so it's just a fun thing to do. It's very counterintuitive. And a simple thing that you can observe if you teach or play it is that when people first start playing against the king and they're, let's say, the less skilled kids, the king just basically always wins. The king always wins. And then that's why you can sometimes add a couple pawns, like an A and an H pawn, just so that the rook pawns don't immediately queen and make it easier. But even with that, at the beginning level, the kids won't be able to deal with it, and inexperienced players won't be able to deal with it because it involves this really made into skill of visualizing all the squares around the king.
Yeah. So just to clarify some rules, the king can make illegal moves on its first turn,
exactly,
but not the second turn. It has to end up on a legal square. But what that means is, if as the side with the army, if you have a queen attacking the king and your queen is defended, that king can take your queen and then step out of check. And so that's why you can't just easily trap the king. And then the second rule is that your king can actually threaten to take the enemy king. So if you're 2 squares away from the enemy king, that's as if you're threatening to go king next to the king, and then king takes king, which is not how real chess works, but that's what makes it much harder for the side with the army. Yeah, I'm with you. I think it's really fun, especially against kids. I played it actually with king and 4 pawns in the center, E, D, C, and F against the full army. And it's a ton of fun. It's very hard, but eventually once the kids learn how to coordinate their pieces and defend everything, and then they don't let your king do anything, they feel very happy, and it's always a good time. So
sounds like something that would teach you how to manage counterplay better, right? How to really look at your opponent's possibilities. Mm-hmm. I've also played it. I also think it's fun. I'm going to put it in here just above King of the Hill.
Cool. For me, I think it will go... let's see, what are we left with here? 3 check. I think I'll probably put it in the 7 spot. Oh, wait, whoops. All right, and then next up we have 3 checks, where you have to give 3 checks to win the game. I also think it's a fun way to give odds when you're playing normal chess and your opponent just has to give 3 checks. But yeah, mainly it's both sides have to give 3 checks before they win. I think MVL is a big fan. Mike Klein, also from Chess Kid. Shout out to Mike. He loves this game. I'm a fan. I think it's quite interesting. I think it's gonna be my number 5 spot.
Kostya, they say that us old guys are reactionaries. And I feel like I'm feeling like a reactionary here because everything that I hear where I don't know of it, I'm just like, that's dumb. I'm an old man. That's dumb. That's dumb. And all these things I never heard of, I'm just like, that's dumb. Let's put it in the bottom of the barrel. There it is. It's true what they say about old people. Don't trust them. They're just getting old and crusty. Can't take any new stuff. I'm barely able to work this Excel spreadsheet, man. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Real challenge.
I mean, 3-check is fun. 3-check is fun, but these other things are more fun. I think what Super King has is it sort of bends the rules a lot, so it makes it a really different, fun experience. That's one of the reasons I put it ahead of some of the other variants, whereas 3-check plays very much like chess, but just a little bit more safe with your king, right? And certain variants you can't play because of checks and some slightly different combinations. You're comboing to get your 2nd and 3rd check rather than to get a checkmate. It's perfectly cool. I would say that's like the cutoff for variants that I like is down to number 9.
Yeah.
So bullet and loser chess are the only 2 where it's like, I wouldn't even bother playing them.
Mm-hmm.
So it may look like a low ranking from me, but actually it's because I appreciate almost all of these.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I mean, it's not my favorite game, but I think it's fun. And it kind of just exercises some different chess skills. And yeah, you still have to calculate, but the rules are different, so you're kind of looking for different ideas. Yeah. Okay, next up, no castle chess, which was one of the variants. I think it was introduced by Kramnik. He had like a whole thing with variants, but then it was also like play tested by AlphaZero and maybe some other neural net engines, and then there was even a match like Kramnik versus Vishy. So Kramnik is a big fan of this one, somewhat surprisingly, where basically it's all the same rules except you just can't castle, so the kings are on their own. Yeah, what do you guys think about it?
I think that his interest in it also came along with a bit of a distaste for Fischer / Chess 960 chess, which I'm loath to say, because I respect him, but I think he doesn't like some of the asymmetry in some of those positions. He feels like there's a lack of harmony and the positions are a little bit ugly, which is fine by me. I love ugly positions. And so he was looking around for other alternatives that would be a lot like chess, but would refresh the opening in a way. And he tested out several variants, including this one with the computers, and this was his favorite. And I'm fine with it. I mean, it's obviously nowhere near as good as Fischer Random. Sorry, Kramnik. Fischer is definitely going to go down ahead of you, but for variant creation. But I mean, it's enough better than normal chess that I'll take it over anything else. It's enough similar yet a little bit better. So yeah, clear number 2. Me.
Gotcha.
But I think, once people played it for a while, it would then quickly suffer from some of the same problems as normal chess, right? People would just have the openings memorized. It's only one new possibility.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's like an interesting variant to regular chess. For me, it's my number 10 pick because I like castling. And so it's just like, it's just normal chess, except you can't castle, which I don't know. I think, okay, if we imagine no castle chess was the normal chess, and then they introduced this rule where you could castle, everyone would be like, wow, this is amazing. The king can get out of the center. Like, people like castling. So I don't know. It's just, to me, it's kind of a bummer to lose your castling rights from the get-go.
Ooh.
And at that point, I'd rather just play 960.
Mm-hmm.
Because, yeah, if we're going to play regular chess but kind of scuff it up a little bit, then, yeah, let's play 960. And then, yeah, you can still castle. I don't know. There's more creativity, I think.
Yeah, I have a little bit of sympathy for this thing. Well, let's just say the obvious. When the beauty of introducing the rule of castling is it makes the game go faster by introducing the rooks into the game quicker. And it creates this beautiful power of the rooks in the center of the boards, often, on the C, D, E, or F file. One thing that I think is interesting for my own self is I rarely actually feel like I don't feel that anxiety about openings too much, even though it's definitely not a strong part of my game or anything. But where I sometimes feel annoyed, about chess being too repetitive is maybe you guys have had the same experience. I've done an inordinate amount of middle game puzzles. I love doing middle game puzzles. We can call them calculation exercises, whatever you want to call them. And I swear to God, you start going through them and it's like, oh my God, another one where both kings are castled short. It's like again and again and again. I'm like, oh my gosh, this actually does happen like all the time. And I just never really appreciated how monotonous, this is and how common it is that we get kings on G1 and G8. Anyway, so that's where I feel it sometimes. I'm just like, oh, I really notice it in these middle game problems. The effect of the castling and how inordinately common it is, So it would almost be, it would be cooler if somehow chess had evolved so long castling would be more common, because it just becomes too common with the short. But that's a mild complaint. And one of the reasons I think, at least this is interesting to me. It's never going to come close to replacing anything, but it's at least an interesting variant.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't see it replacing chess for sure, the way I do with chess 960. But if for some reason people wanted to replace chess with it, I would be willing to do that for a year.
Yeah, it's definitely like a interesting way to kind of mix up the game a bit. You have to figure out what you're doing with the king. Yeah.
It's like buying a new spice for the first time, right? You've never had cumin in your kitchen before. Uh-huh. And then suddenly you've got cumin and you're like, cool. Look at what I can do with it. And then, after a couple of weeks, you need chess 960 because you've kind of figured out what cumin can do.
All the spices.
Okay, Kostya, tell us, what is progressive chess?
Okay, progressive chess, which, as you guys can see, is going to be my number 2 favorite variant behind Bughouse, is a game where white moves first. They get 1 move. Black then gets 2 moves to play. They can make any 2 moves. White then gets 3 moves. Black gets 4 moves. White gets 5 moves, and so on. The game ends in checkmate as normal. You can capture as one of your moves. The only rule is that if you give a check, that has to be the last of your moves. So if you have like 4 moves to make, and your first or second move is a check, you're not allowed to make any other moves after that. So a typical strategy is to save the check for your last move of the series.
The other important rule that goes with that is that the opponent must play legal moves. Everyone has to play like chess legal moves. There's no capturing a piece that's defended with your king and then stepping back out by the end of your progressive set of moves.
Yeah, all the moves have to be legal, right? So if you start your turn off in check, your first move has to be to get out of check. And then you can make normal moves from there. So super fun. I actually played, I think my only real game of correspondence chess was progressive chess, which I played with my friend, National Master Alex King. Shout out to Alex. And that was super fun. I think I played black in that game. And yeah, it's just like tons to analyze, and there's various openings. So very typical opening is for white to go e4, and then black just goes e5, d5. because otherwise why would have queen h5, bishop c4, queen takes f7 checkmate? So you have to be careful.
Gosh.
You have to defend against this threat. But there's different ways to do it. And then once the game gets fun, it's like you have 6 moves, 7 moves, like you know that your opponent is going to get one more move next. So you really have to make sure that they don't have a way to set up a checkmate, right? Because you can imagine once you have 7 or 8 moves to make, a lot of different ways to just set up a mate, but surprisingly hard. So anyway, super fun. I think people should try it out. And I would happily play progressive chess all the time. Not all the time, but you know what I mean.
I've played progressive several times. It was fun. I think it's got a little less replay value than Super King or King of the Hill, maybe, because you start to sort of hone in on some ideas in the first couple moves within just a couple times playing the game. So super fun. I've got nothing against it. It's up there in my top 9 that I like. But I think that the fun is super high at first, but drops off compared to some other variants.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my reaction is that of a reactionary again. Just too high. You guys are going crazy over there, man. Just anything new, I'm opposed. I'm opposed to anything new. Something I want to note is David has Bullet as number 10. We should just say at the beginning of the show, I said that I vetoed Bullet off the list, but David is an obstinate dude, as you guys know. So he put it on there anyway. He didn't care that I vetoed him. And so officially he's got Loser's Chess below Bullet.
So a double insult there to Bullet and to Loser's Chess.
Yeah.
Worse than Bullet.
He just needed to insult Bullet just while he was at it, I guess.
Yeah. And hopefully you feel a little bit insulted too, Jesse. I hope everybody feels terrible.
And 960 is definitely on my list. It's number 2. It's right up there.
So which ones do we all kind of rank highly? I mean, Bughouse is probably number 1 because we have 2 number 1s and a number 3. Chess 960 has a 1, 2, and the 4. So that's pretty high. That makes sense.
Bughouse is the only one I have a desire to play. That's the only one. I love talking.
That was my other question is like, for each of you on this list that you have of like 10 variants, where's the cutoff between stuff you want to play and stuff you don't want to play, right? Because for me, it's at number 9. Up through number 9, I could play it for fun, and after number 9, no.
Yeah.
For you, it's at number 2, Jesse?
Yeah, just Bughouse. I'm not interested. I mean, Super King, I think it's fun for the camps and stuff. If somebody, wanted to do a Chess 960 tournament and they invited me, I'd do it. But, it's not something I'm like super pumped. Yeah. So really, and if I imagine having a good time wasting you with my Bughouse opening, branded the bone, then yes, that is what and I need to do a video too. I need a YouTube video on the bone, because that's the real deal, my friend.
All right. Call up Sandor. We'll play some games, and then you can use those games for your video.
Yeah. Let's see. For me, I don't know. I think it really depends on my mood. I would say my top 4, I'm probably in the mood to play most of the time. And then like 3-check, Crazy House. Fog of War I would be interested in trying out. I feel like I would actually like it more. I just have never played it, so it was really hard to rank it higher. I also want to give a shout out to Quantum Chess, because I've been working with the Quantum Chess folks. That's a very fun variant as well, and generally very hard. But I don't know, I didn't want to include on this list. I feel like most people haven't played it, and it's kind of less popular than these. But yeah, definitely one that's...
And we didn't do Atomic either.
Worth trying. Yeah, we didn't do Atomic either. That was kind of my bias because I don't like Atomic, so it wasn't on my list. But yeah, shout out to Atomic.
Blindfold, honestly, that to me is like Bullet. It's still the rules of chess, but you could consider it a variant. Yeah, I think of it as chess.
Think of it as chess. Yeah,
it's very similar. Yeah.
Not a variant.
For some players, it is just chess.
Yeah.
So,
right.
Okay, guys. Well,
that was fun. Yeah.
I think we accomplished something today. Once again, if you want to see our final rankings, you can check out the YouTube video where you'll have a visual list just to see it all in perspective. But okay.
All right.
I think that's
Cool.
going to do it. Thanks everyone for hanging out, and we will and listening, and we'll catch you next time. All right, folks, that's the show. Yeah, we missed 4-player chess as well. There's just too many variants.
A lot of variants, yeah.
4-player chess is fun. Very hard, though.
Okay, my friends. Great. I will talk to you soon.
All right, guys.